The globe religion about to fall. We're gonna open your eyes so you can see who you're gonna call if you wanna be free. Globebusters! 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 Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Who you gonna call? Yeah! Globebusters! Globebusters! Globebusters!
And welcome everybody to GLOBEBUSTERS. We accept the reality of the world with which we're presented. It's as simple as that.
R.I.P. Bob, we miss you. This will be the 2-year anniversary coming up this weekend. Oh, it's crazy to think about it. Yeah, he's definitely been around the house a lot. We've been thinking about him a lot the last, well, really couple weeks. But really this last week, Jaren's really been just remembering a lot of stuff about his dad, and it's awesome. Good memories, you know, a lot of good stuff coming out. And that's important to remember that kind of stuff. So if you got any extra, you know, prayers and love to send some to Cammie and Jaren. They could use some this weekend for sure. I know. But we're gonna keep his legacy going here, GLOBEBUSTERS channel, and you know, keep fighting the good fight. That's all we can do. And today, welcome everybody. By the way, I'm Zach. Good times for all. I just saw that R.I.P. Bob in the corner, and it sorry, kind of got me there for a sec. We're going to be talking Aether Part 2. Last week, we talked about the Aether and covered a couple of videos, just kind of explaining, you know, what the Aether is. Today, we're going to be, you know, going through a little bit about wave functions and things like that. And then also some really interesting stuff. I know Spacebusters channel. If you're not subscribed, you should go over there and check it out for sure. Did an amazing video about like chi, and almost controlling this, you know, electric fluid. If you've ever seen the movie Big Trouble in Little China, I was always fascinated when Wong showed the guy at the bank, or the detective or whoever he was talking to, showed him he put his hands together like this and electricity formed in between his fingers. And it just, I always resonated with that. Like, I felt that could be done for some reason. I know I was just a child, but even as I grew older, I've always had this weird thing in the back of my head where I thought, man, is that possible? Can I create enough potential in between my hands to, I don't know. It's fun to think about stuff like that. But yeah, we're gonna get into some stuff, not quite that, but you know, controlling this stuff and learning to focus, you know, this energy that's out there. So before we do that, though, we're going to say hello to the panel. We'll start off with Miss Karen B. Karen, how was your week?
It's been good. Happy to be here.
Was a fun coffee talk on Monday.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it.
Thanks.
Yeah, those are always awesome. Any word on doing any more of the scripture studies?
No, I've not actually heard very much from Jack since we finished up the Torah, so I guess he's just taking a
break was needed.
A little break time.
Yeah, that was a lot of shows you guys did. Yeah.
That's actually been like a big topic I've been really looking into lately. Is like really observing the different kinds of like biblical texts that and where they come from, like the Masoretic texts compared to the Dead Sea Scrolls, and how there's like just a certain amount of like different scriptures that are part of like the Bible in the Masoretic text there. It doesn't, like, there's a lot more to the Bible than just the Masoretic text, but then there's like a whole bunch of different books that are in the Dead Sea Scrolls that aren't included in our Bible. And so that really raises a question, like, what really qualifies as canon? Like, what's the standard for becoming canon? You know what I mean? And every time I look at the Hebrew Bible or the King James, that's what I'm going to say. Every time I look at the King James Bible, it just says government Bible. That's all I see these days. Government Bible. And so, yeah, do we just trust King James and all that, or what? Like, what's the standard for this qualifying as scripture and this one no? So interesting questions to think about.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I don't even, the way history has been written and everything, I take it all in, you know, even the so-called mythology type of stuff, like the Greek gods and stuff like that, and Norse gods. Is there some credence to some of this stuff where they're really mighty beings that were just more than men? I don't know. There's so much that, has been lost, or we just can't know. But so I just kind of keep an open mind, and I think that's what the creator wants us to do, is to keep an open mind and, know what we can know, but never just believe something that we can't. You can have ideas and talk about it and this and that, but know what you can know. Check it out, study it as much as you can, test it. Whatever you can know is great. But, beliefs they're hard to change. Ideas.
Yeah.
Ideas. All right. And that's Kyle Adams. So Kyle, how was your week?
It was good. I've been doing a bunch of study lately on some important vocabulary words that Bob left for me concerning the Aether, actually. One of those was Aries failure. And so I've been doing a deep dive study on Aries failure, and I spent a good portion of Tuesday night studying that one and had a bunch of questions. And I found there's like a lot of similarities between Aries failure or success, however you want to call it, kind of putting on your perspective on that one, and Mickelson Morley. And so I was like, oh, that's interesting. So Bob definitely was good at taking a bunch of different concepts and threading them together and saying exactly how one relates to the other. And so I've been kind of following in his footsteps there and trying to piece it all together and see what he saw. And it's been a really fun adventure. I got to say that much. And so it's been a very interesting thing to study.
Awesome. Yeah, Aries failure is a great one. That one, it took me a minute to grasp it, but once I saw a visual of what they were talking about and it clicked, and it still has never been like refuted. You can do it today and you're going to get the same results. And there
Still
is
got
no
a lot
excuse.
of questions on that one, though. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
I sit down I'm like, okay, Harry, we're going to get there. And I've got some questions and I want some answers. Let's see some answers. So, we'll get
I
there
really
later.
got into Aries studying diffraction. He was one of the first people that noticed the fringe pattern, the circles getting weaker and weaker and weaker when you're looking through something and you see that fringe pattern that starts. He's the one who first, wrote it. He gets credit for finding that diffraction pattern. And that's where we get our angular resolution limit and all that kind of stuff from. Yeah, very important guy when it comes to the physics of optics.
Yeah. The funny thing about Aries failure is when you start looking into it, they make a big deal about the Aether, and I'm still trying to find the Aether part of it. And so kind of like Mickelson Morley, it's a big test about proving whether or not the Aether is there. I'm like, no, Mickelson Morley wasn't all about that. It was about testing the speed of light in different directions. And so like it was never about trying to prove whether the Aether is there or not. And so when I look up Aries failure, there is no Wikipedia entry on that whatsoever. I was like, what? Why can't I find Aries failure? Like
That's
I'm looking
just
up,
crazy.
I'm searching everywhere. It's really hard to find, and I can only find like on YouTube. You search it, and all you find are there's the Michael Bowden video about Aries failure, and then there's Craig McNeil's video on Aries failure, and so it's just like flat earthers and anti-flat earthers are the only two that are talking about it. What's up with that? Like, I thought this was supposed to be like a really big deal or something like that. And why is it only the flat earthers and anti-flat earthers who actually talked about it? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, then you look up the Aether drag test, and that's kind of been my next step is kind of like, why are they calling this the Aether drag test? Like, are we dragging the ether or something like that? And so trying to find out why that's kind of why Aries failure is being referred to that is something I'm still scratching my head on. And so, like I said, I go diving down deep for some answers, and I end up finding a lot more questions.
Yeah, that's one of those they don't really want to talk about.
Yeah,
It's kind of hard to defend. I haven't come up with a good defense. That's one of the things I like to do is come up with, how I would defend this topic if I was on the other side.
this is a good video.
It's hard.
I'll have to put it together, my results, what I've found so far, into a good video on it in the future. But.
All right. And last but not least, we have Miss Cammie Dodell. Cammie, how are you doing?
Oh, I'm doing okay. Not my very best tonight. Got quite the headache going on in that, so I'm going to be listening a lot. Really good pre-show topics, and I could go off on any one of them and go down the rabbit hole. I won't too much, but I do know on the different scriptures that's one of the rabbit holes I've been going down in Kyle, and looking at all the different Bibles, all the different texts, and they're finding and they're decoding more every day. You have to keep up with it. It's a great rabbit hole. The myths, I don't consider almost myths when you look at the way they were studied and taken apart, and the reverence put to them. Homer, I'm trying to remember the exact definition of Homer. It has two meanings. One of them is hostage, and I think one of them was hostage, and one of them was truth, or I'm trying to remember. I'll have to look up Homer again. A lot of people do not necessarily think that it's a person written that, and nobody believes he made this story up as fiction. It's written in poetry. It's considered old history, and it was taken apart.
You're roboting. Are you?
I'm roboting.
Yeah.
It was treated the way that we treat the Bible, the Quran, and holy texts now, is how it was treated. And so when looking at mythology, really, really, and also going back and looking at the old myths and that in their original language, and people taking them apart and that can read them in the language, I've learned so much.
You're roboting still.
I'm roboting still. I'll try to walk closer. I did one. I went into the stories of King Arthur and the Holy Grail, and originally written in German when they got to the 1300s copies, and one of the first three copies written in the 1300s of the story written down. The Holy Grail was a black rock. It was a stone. So again, until you actually go back into the actual old written and translate them, you see that just like King James versus what we did on Karen's show, they're very, very different things. What we're being told from them are not how they were presented. But on that, let's go to Ether, because you guys were getting much closer to that topic, and I just took us right back. But it's good to be here tonight with everybody, and thank you through this hard week, this hard emotional, and I'll be listening in mostly tonight, so it's great to be here. And hopefully Shane and Ellen were going to maybe join us. Perhaps.
We shall see. All right. Do you know what this one's about, Kyle?
I'm not sure exactly what part you're at.
I think it was time-stamped. When I clicked on it, it was right here.
I'm not sure which video we're looking at here.
Because it's a long one. The Etheric Soul Unveiled.
Let me see if I can.
2 hours and 45 minutes. Yeah.
I think there's a part in it that I was looking for. I don't remember that part specifically that you're looking at. I just remember the part where they're doing like different demonstrations. If that's the same video I'm thinking of.
Okay, well, we'll click it and see what happens.
Okay.
Deactivated the electrodes. Then the hand automatically fell down. Then doctor again asked, what happened? Subject said, my hand fell down. Doctor asked, did you put your hand down? Subject said, no, I did not, you did it. So he did several experiments like this. Now the question arises that if Dr. Penfield activated and deactivated the brain in the second case, due to which hand of the subject went up and down,
Not sure about
then
that one.
who is the individual who activated and deactivated the brain in the first case?
Okay, we can come back to this one.
Yeah, we'll have to come back to that one.
Okay. This is OpenLearn from the Open University, Apertures and Diffraction, Exploring Wave Motions. And this is, you know, how they say what light is a particle and a wave type of thing. Is that where you were go? What I'm asking is, what is this in relation to Aether?
I think this is talking about the double slit experiment. I'm not entirely certain. The double slit experiment is the one that talks about light being a wave.
No, I was just at, like, was this part of today's topic, the Aether?
I'm not sure off the top of my head here. I'm trying to go back and look at
the
the
chat.
video.
Okay, we will go to this one. This is an awesome
That's the
video.
one. That's
Yeah.
what I'm thinking of.
The Fifth Element, Part 2. So there is a Part 1 to this. This is Spacebusters channel. Yeah, just a very cool channel. Did a really great video on their Bonomonte map. You know that map, the big giant one that was a bunch of tapestries?
Mm-hmm.
He was showing how a lot of those big outer lands were actually just islands blown up, smaller islands. You know how they kind of do they'll have a state map?
Yeah.
And then they'll show Chicago blown up real big in the bottom corner.
Or Hawaii. Yeah.
Yeah. And then they'll have a big part of a city or something like that right in the bottom corner to, you know, take something smaller and show it bigger because you had room on the map.
Interesting.
They're thinking that's, yeah, there's a bunch of stuff that all lines up. It's really neat.
Cool.
He did a video that was put out today, I think, this morning.
I'll have to go check that one out.
Yeah. So we will check this out. Chi Aether, the Fifth Element.
So in a lot of, like, when it comes to, what's it called? Alchemy was the one that relates ether and spirit as kind of being the same thing. And so here they're able to manipulate it to be able to do some incredible feats.
I've heard about this guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
He won't do it anymore because this is like the only people he ever let record him, and they promised not to show it, and they showed it. So he was like, I'm never letting anybody else record it again.
It is said that the ether is the ever-present field that connects all things. Yes, everything is connected. Every inch of the ether consists of infinite amounts of free energy. This is the elite's greatest secret. If science were to reveal that the ether exists, it would destroy the entire foundation of mainstream Jesuit atomism and particle science. Denying the ether would be like a fish denying that it is surrounded by water. By no coincidence, ancient Vedic and Taoist traditions speak of and still utilize today this same exact ever-present energy field that goes by many names. Prana, Chi. The brilliant Wilhelm Reich called this field Orgon, and even George Lucas called it the Force in his popular Star Wars series. By no coincidence, his Lucasfilm logo features the flat Earth and dome with the opposing vortex lines within it.
Never quite saw that before.
Many generations grew up watching Star Wars and fantasizing about how cool it would be to have the Jedi powers of the Force. But as we're about to see, we all do have that power dormant within us, or rather both all around us and within us, and instantly accessible through intense mind and physical training. There is an old saying, mind over matter, but this is a fallacy. It should rather be, mind is what matters, because matter is not atomic particles, and thought and mind come from the exact same energy source that everything physical comes from.
I mean, I could do this with a leaf blower and someone standing off to the right of the camera. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I have a hard time believing.
Scientism and
It's okay.
many religions falsely program us to believe that we were born into this realm, like a termite or ant moving into a tree, rather than born out of this realm, as part of this realm, like a leaf or acorn growing on a tree. Western psychology plays the same trick by convincing us that our mind, thoughts, and ego are bad things. Foreign invaders somehow bombarding us from some other dimension, when nothing convincing us
There's
our mind.
the demonstrations with the Chinese people. That was the part that was like really significant, at least for Bob. That's the part that's really worth seeing, where he's like pushing things with his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
I believe that's in this video. You just have to kind of skip ahead to that part.
Children are completely egoistic. They feel their needs intensely and strive ruthlessly to satisfy them, especially as against the rivals, other children, and first and foremost, as against their brothers and sisters. The interpretation of dreams, Sigmund Freud. Children. And I see a lot of adults that are doing this kind of stuff still.
Mind, thoughts, and ego are bad things. Foreign invaders somehow bombarding us from some other dimension, when nothing could be further from the truth. The so-called matrix is nothing more than programming the false belief into people that we are somehow separate from everything around us, a cosmic accident, or born into sin, rather than a symbiotic space-time fractile of the entire whole, born out of perfect harmony and purpose, perpetually dancing together with the whole. Are we walking up the mountain, fighting a foreign resistance force through sheer will and struggle, or is that mountain lifting us up because we desire to go up higher than we are to have a look around? The truth is that there is no difference between the two. We have just been programmed not to understand this simple concept. We're two sides to the same coin and two wings of the same bird. But make no mistake, there is only one coin and only one bird. Back to the Star Wars films. Why is the mighty technologically advanced Empire so hell-bent on getting rid of a few dozen bathrobe-wearing Jedi who have mastered control of the Aether, or the Cheetah? For the exact same reason the controlling parasites of this world don't want 7 billion people to wake up and figure out they are Jedis with access to the real-life powers of the etheric force.
This troupe of martial artists used chi to perform the kind of stunts that seem beyond the normal capabilities of men. They stake their lives on being able to generate chi within their bodies and direct it to the parts that need protection.
So the next thing he's going to do is direct the chi into one.
I'll say one thing. The thing that I don't like about this kind of stuff is that there's a lot of people that are doing fake things like this.
Mm-hmm.
There's so
fully
many
agree.
of them.
Yeah.
The chi masters that'll pretend like they're knocking people down, and then they go and get into a fight with the guy, you know, that doesn't believe in their power, and he comes right up and punches them in the face. It's like there's too much of that going around. I'm not saying that there aren't people out there that, you know, have mastered some kind of technique, you know, through meditation and this and that, and just, you know, it's like walking or talking. It's not something you can just pick up and take off running. You slowly learn to do it and get better and better and better at it. So I don't know if there's people out there that, you know, can possess these, but I wouldn't go around showing people, you know, if I could do amazing something, things like that. I mean, I wouldn't, it's just asking for all kinds of trouble, really, you know? So I don't doubt that there's some Paime sitting up on some mountain eating a fish head and a bowl of rice a day that can do amazing things.
It's
But
strange.
you really have to watch out for a lot of this kind of stuff, because there are a lot of hoaxes.
There's a lot of fraudsters out there who, yeah. You got to think about, what's that show? The Carbonaro Effect, which is the magic show where the magic is all just like in TV magic, cutting scenes and stuff like that. And yeah, there's too much of that going on.
I've always felt like I could, and you were saying at the beginning, Zach, with electricity, I've always felt like I could open my hand and have a ball of fire come out. And I've tried. I mean, I try. One of these days, like, I hope it will happen in that. But there are certain of these things that you feel like is there. You feel like it's there, and you should be able to do it, and you just don't know how to do it, though. Too.
It's almost like you'd have to have electrodes hooked up so you can see that, because, you know, it has to get to like 5,000 volts just to jump that big. Just a little teeny jump like that has to be 5,000 volts. So you might be charging up a couple hundred volts and not even know about it. You might be doing something.
It's funny when I try to make fire, I don't hold my hand out like people do. I cut my hands and hold them apart. I still haven't ever made fire.
When
One of these days, maybe.
One of these days.
I think
Well, when that other guy does it, he has a fuel. Maybe you need like a little piece of kindling to set on fire.
Get it going, yeah.
Yeah, when it comes to starting a fire, yeah, that seems easily fakeable. And so it's like, is it real? Is it fake? And I think that's where it really comes down to, is when science suddenly takes something like this and acknowledges it, and it's actually like replicatable, then that's a really big deal. And so I kind of gave you that document at the very end here where they're actually acknowledging an infrared light that you can actually emit with this kind of stuff. And it's actually been documented and observed. Huh?
I wonder if using hot flashes is cheating.
Your superpower.
Your superpower.
Yeah. I have to say that as I've taken Tai Chi classes in the past, back in college, there is an actual energy that it's very palpable. I could feel it. And as I'm kind of pushing this energy through the room, going through the different Tai Chi movements, and it's called Qigong, and you can really feel it. And so kind of getting that energy stirred up. And there was forever ago when I was just a kid, my grandma had this old book that she was reading, just kind of going over some different like meditation techniques on how to like channel this energy that's just there in your body and kind of use it towards healing. And I just kind of read that book randomly, and but I've never forgotten it, because like I could actually feel it. I can actually like move this energy, and I've been able to do this with each of my kids, and they all fully recognize it. And I've been teaching them how to do that too. But when like you fall down and hurt your knee or something like that, you go, ow, and immediately you take your hands and you put your hands on your knee, right, to help ease the pain. And so there's like this natural reflex for us to put our hands on a sore place, right? And the whole concept here is that we're actually able to move an energy through our hands through that place that was just injured. And that helps ease the pain and actually helps accelerate the healing process. And so like healing, it's like a healing touch, which is a very interesting concept unto itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always had watching the first Karate Kid, Mr. Miyagi with his, doing stuff like that. And they do have these things over there where it's like a glass ball almost with a little hole in it. And they light it, put something in there, light it on fire, and then put it on your skin, and it creates this suction that does something with the heat and the suction at the same time. And I've noticed that you can do that with your hand. You can put it on, if you get it just right and pull away, you can create that suction and that heat yourself. So yeah, I'm all about healing hands. And
yeah.
Cammie had a rotator problem with her shoulder and did not want to get surgery. And all I would do is I would sit there and just I don't know what I'm doing. I was never taught, but just massaging and rubbing that certain part in a certain way, and just, I don't know, that heat that's created. And yeah, now her shoulders, she can move it, never had surgery, and hopefully it'll never come back again. Because a lot of people who do have that surgery, it'll come back a few years later.
There's been documented instances of people actually curing scoliosis because of that, just being able to channel that energy into a back and realign the spine using that ether, which is just amazing and mind-boggling. And the way the book taught me forever ago was kind of like when you just kind of barely lightly touch like the back of your arm. Okay, after you've touched it, there's still sensation there, and then you just kind of pull that sensation all the way out your arm and out through your fingertips, and then you can kind of feel that sensation just kind of like lifting out like an inch away from your hands, and you can kind of like move that with both your hands, and to a point where you can actually feel your hands repel each other, like you're holding magnets between your hands. And that's just like how powerful it is. It's just like as if there was a magnet there. You can feel it. And so I'd do this like just kind of in church, and just kind of say, hey, okay, put your hand in between my hands, and I'm not going to touch them, but I want you to feel this. And then I'd let my kids kind of put their hand right between my hands, and they could feel this like repulsion, and I could switch the attraction too. Like I can like help them feel this like repulsion through this energy that I'm kind of channeling into their hands. And then I could also kind of flip it and end up like attracting instead. It's kind of like magnets. It's this wild thing that, yeah. And so I don't know what else to call it. And like, but that's kind of the thing with the ether here. Is that ether, or is it something else entirely? I don't know. You know what I mean? And so it's kind of like the word node. The word node gets slapped on everything, right? But this kind of node isn't the same as that kind of node. And so is this a completely different concept, or is this the same thing? You got me. You got me.
Yeah. There's so much unknown out there. And this kind of stuff, science, they can't measure. Well, you would think they would be able to start. I mean, there is a measurable difference between your right hand and your left hand. There is a potential difference there. Now, have they ever recorded anybody, raising that up to tremendous amounts of volts? I don't know. Would they tell us? If we all, like he was saying in the video at the beginning, if we do all have these powers, would they want us to know about it? Would they want you to know that you're a superhero? Or would they want you to just go about your day and do what you're supposed to be doing, what they want you to do?
I think it's pretty clear that they just want you to think you're specks of dust and nothing more. Yeah, it can never really amount to anything, because all you are is just dirt.
Now this part, I think it's going to start getting into the healing aspect now. So we'll check this out. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, they're still talking about like the barrier aspect.
Yeah, I just want to make
Or maybe
sure.
no, you're right. Healing.
Oh, is he going to bend the bottle cap?
There's a finger skill. He's going to put his chi from his mind into his fingers, so he can break a solid metal bottle opener.
Yes.
See, this stuff, I don't know.
Jesus.
Now there are metals out there that break very, very
This is how he
simply,
practices his
very
skill.
easily. You can
He's
heat them
doing
up
press-ups.
to make them real brittle. There's all kinds of things you can do. So that's very impressive, nonetheless.
Whoa.
Doing push-ups on 2 fingers, that's insane.
That's a real bottle of wine. Chinese wine.
Yeah.
It tastes
I
good,
saw.
but he's about to waste it.
先要把气运到
Here
这
we
里。
go.
Okay, he's getting malignant spirits. Now, I'd suggest that you don't try any of those stunts at all.
I first met him in the early 80s in a Chinatown of urban Java. He didn't want his real name or address revealed, so we called him DJ for Dynamo Jack. He was only a healer, he said, but he did direct a powerful energy generated from his own body into his patients. Sometimes he used the needles, sometimes just his hands. He called the energy chi, and it was so strong that he usually needed a grounder to hold his patients' feet. For years, we followed him around Java on his healing rounds, pleading to be allowed to film him, but he always refused, saying his powers resulted from a type of meditation with an ancient tradition of secrecy. It was only when my brother Lorne was suffering from a serious eye infection that he finally allowed us to film him in 1987.
It was nothing like any acupuncture I'd ever had. I was getting really powerful electric shocks and couldn't control my movements at all.
Yin yang, positive and negative, you know. And my positive from here and my negative from here. And we meet together, this can get like electricity.
And is this because you're special? You have a special sort of
It's meditation every day.
It's meditation.
So was that like his solar plexus? He said was the positive, and then down by his genitals was the negative? Is that what he? I think that's what he said.
I was like, go back.
Yeah.
Couldn't control my movements at all.
Yin yang, positive and negative, you know. And my positive from here and my negative from here. And we meet together, this can get like electricity.
So he doesn't specify, he's just pointing.
You're
But that's what it looks like.
Sort of
It's meditation every day.
It's meditation.
Meditation every day. Like
Until you've actually like experienced it, it's really easy to just, oh, it's fake. You know what I mean? Until you've seen it for yourself and like firsthand, like felt it. Yeah. Though I do acknowledge hypnotism as a thing, and that's always been a questionable thing for me, is like, is this a form of hypnosis? Because it's really easy to hypnotize people. The way I've heard it is if you're watching a TV show and that TV show causes you to feel emotional for any, that's a form of hypnosis. You know, obviously that's an actor, you know what I mean? But all of a sudden it's like inducing the hypnosis, which is causing you to cry over a fake thing. You know what I mean? And so when you watch a TV show or read a book and get really into it, that is a form of self-hypnosis. And so you can do wild and weird things with hypnosis. And so that's kind of the barrier where I kind of am fully questioning myself, is like, as you're kind of channeling this energy from your hands, is that a hypnosis? Is that a kind of a self-suggestion? You know what I mean? Because I don't know if you've ever done the whole hypnosis thing where you kind of imagine you're holding a really heavy bucket full of water and it's just really heavy. And then on the other hand, you're holding a thing of balloons. And as you kind of go through this whole mental exercise, all of a sudden one hand that you're telling is heavier starts dropping and it starts feeling heavier, while the other hand starts going up, right? And so that's kind of where I'm like, this could be a form of hypnosis, but I don't know. That's kind of the fun thing about it. It's where trying to find different experiments to verify and push that boundary. That's really important when it comes to determining whether it's an illusion or if it's real.
Yeah, I mean, he didn't even want to be recorded. I doubt this guy would let, some scientist come up and hook him up to a bunch of wires to a machine. So testing this kind of stuff, it's got to be hard. Like,
yeah, there's a lot of spiritual things that people do consider sacred, and there's miracles that do happen, even though they're not recorded, and you either acknowledge that person is miraculously healed or you don't. And I think that's a little bit easier to that one's less subjective. It's much more objective. Either they are healed or they're not.
mm-hmm. Okay, so
We were, hold on.
Go ahead. No, go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, yeah. Bob and I were at a Renaissance festival years ago once, and we were there with some close friends, and the gentleman was a lawyer and his wife, again, a paralegal, and they didn't believe, again, they were very, very, very stable based people or whatever. They didn't like really even believe in hypnotism or the different things. But we were at the Renaissance Festival, and we sat in the audience where they had the person doing hypnotizing, and we'd sat through many times. And before they pull people up on the stage, they take you in the audience, or they talk to the audience, and they do test you. They do different things, and one of the things was is you like hold your hands together, and this way is doing it, and who can take their hands apart. And Bob and I could take our hands apart, and Joni, the girl that was with us, she could not take her hands apart, and it freaked her out. I mean, it completely freaked her out to the point that we had to leave after this episode. She was so upset. She didn't think it was real, and she really couldn't get her hands apart. And the rest of me, her husband, and Bob could, but she couldn't. And it was
freaking her out. Yeah.
No, and I can't even begin to say how much it freaked her out, and like the implications
I'm not
it
in
had.
control of my body here. It's like I'm being possessed. I don't like that.
That would probably freak me out too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would not like that. And I don't know, Bob loved talking about this kind of stuff. And one story he always told was he had a buddy who would not drive. He hated driving, right? Because everybody always cut him off. And Bob was just like, that's crazy, man. What are you talking about? Everybody always cuts you off. It's like, everybody always cuts me off all the time, always. And Bob wanted to see this. So he let the guy drive, and Bob's and he said, sure enough, like 4 different people cut him off, like in no time. He's like, see? And Bob realized and told him, he's like, that's you doing that. Like, you are manifesting that people are going to cut you off. So people cut you off. Bob said he had never seen anybody get cut off so many times in such a short period of time just for driving normally. It wasn't like he was speeding or anything like that, but he said all kinds of people would cut this guy off. And Bob thought it was because he believed people were going to cut him off and was putting that out there. So yeah, I think there is a lot to this kind of stuff. This whole, project the world you want to live in, almost like believe things or look to the future and think ahead of how you want it to be. And it tends to happen. It's crazy. It really is.
And when it comes to the spirit aspect of Aether, I gotta acknowledge that ghosts exist. I'm a big time believer. I've literally had an Indian in the backseat of my car like try to flip my car before. It was wild, I'm telling you. And this was like broad daylight, and so I'm a big believer. And so what is that made out of? What is a ghost made out of is a big thing. I don't know, like it's got to be made out of something, right? And so the biggest thing is Aether. That's I don't know, but the spiritual realm is often referred to as the ethereal realm, and I can't ignore that. So yeah, but yeah, is this the same thing that Mickelson was testing for? Is that the same thing that the light is traveling through as waves? Again, I don't know. Maybe it's just 2 separate things. But exactly how we go about in testing that's another thing.
We haven't advanced that far yet. Maybe someday somebody will come out with a meter or something like that, some way to do it.
See if I
Kinda
can
like it's the
bend a
next
laser beam with
Tesla.
using this. Yeah, channeling that energy to try and bend a laser. That would be something.
All right, see. I'm always been super interested in people like this, the healers that don't want fame and fortune or this or that. You know, doesn't even want to be recorded. I would like to meet these people and just share that electromagnetic field. Maybe I can get some of that, to rub off on me or something. But yeah, this has always fascinated me.
Like this, it's nothing, okay? It's my burn. Just like this.
For our sound recordist, it was also a shocker. He then took our newspaper outside and showed us how chi can also be used to set things on fire. When he heard we'd shown this footage in public, he was very upset and refused all our future efforts to contact him again. As the years passed, we sadly resigned ourselves to never seeing him again. My brother Lorne never did, for by 1997 he was already dead, when I again found myself with DJ, now treating me for an eye problem. But it wasn't this that brought me back. He had tracked me down out of the blue and invited me to tell me a story. He had just returned from 2 years on a deep meditational journey, alone in the heart of Borneo.
2 years on a meditational journey. It's
wild.
Well, I think about I actually just kind of did my own little journey this morning out in a mountain near my house, and that's kind of stuff. Miracles happen. I'm telling you, just getting out there and kind of like the ancients, like the ancient prophets in the Bible, going up to Mount Sinai to go and be with the Creator, right? And there's nothing saying you can't do that today. To go out and go on your own meditation journeys to find some kind of that spiritual enlightenment.
I mean, I went on walkabout for about 11 months before I got with Bob and Cammie, and that seemed like a whole lifetime of memories and just interactions with new people and this and that and all this. 2 years. That's a long time to go sit and meditate.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
I'm sure he was getting up and doing other things that
well, yeah,
but, do, of course. But that's kind of the idea of if I were to say, okay, guys, I'm going to take a 2-year sabbatical and go out and be out in the mountains to go find my enlightenment. That would be it. It's kind of dedicating my life 2 years for this spiritual journey.
Yeah, it's awesome.
How history was moving on into great change, and the old wisdom was vanishing. So he'd called me back to film just enough of him to remind us that we all have undreamed of powers sleeping within us, and that there's nothing special about him except for his training in waking them. Grounding this patient, my cameraman Joe is having to use all his weight to keep contact. She is pushing him away.
See, I have trouble believing that unless I feel it. That's something that's why I would love to, just witness it and help in a way. I just want to feel that energy, like have him touch my hand and it feel like fire, like hot.
Oh, you can definitely feel your hands like warm up as you're kind of doing this.
Otherwise it's just a belief to me. I've seen all kinds of stuff in movies and people faking stuff. So I'm very skeptical when it comes to all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, I can walk you through the basics on that. It's just kind of what I was telling you with your arms. What you do is you start that sensation, building it up within your toes, and then you kind of bring that sensation, just lightly touching the tip of your toes, and then just kind of bringing it up your knees, up like the rest of your body, and then kind of out your arms, and you can feel that kind of you get the motion going, and just feeling that sensation, and you can start to feel that literally coming out of your fingers, like. It's like that spiritual aura that just kind of ends up coming out your fingers and kind of pushing it into the other one, into your other hand. And you can kind of, feel it going up and down. It's palpable.
He seems able to control the amplitude of this chi, like a dimmer switch, and it causes uncontrollable responses in the patients and their grounders.
I can barely keep my hand on you. Fly off, electricity so strong.
This mother unwittingly grounds her child. He won't sit still, so she's asked to hold him and grin and bear it. Sometimes signs of this passing energy can be seen in the transmitter too. This chi stuff is only the surface, he says, of the real adventure beneath, in the meditational technique. Projecting chi from the palm of the hand can also be used to resist rifle.
What are they doing?
Looks like he's doing a bullet catch, which is like the magic trick.
He just shot a gun in the building.
Maybe it's a pellet gun?
I don't care. You don't shoot it in the building inside.
Yeah.
Guns are not for inside, folks. Just saying. Sorry. Like when I see stuff like that, I got to call it out. Like,
yeah, that's fine. 100%.
Yeah, that's
even
crazy.
with the pellet gun in a building, there's not a place to be shooting stuff like that. Just saying.
Yeah. They'll shoot your eye out.
First, you learn to distinguish between yin and yang qi in your body. Then how to pool it in your navel chakra. Then how to project it, he says. And it's the proportionate mixture between yin and yang which accounts for different effects, like pulling or pushing objects or igniting them. Then he gets really strange. He says that mastering yin qi is the key to the spirit world. There's a long tradition of Indonesian krisis being possessed by spirits. So people bring him their krisis to see if they're duds. Here, he says, he doesn't manipulate matter by projecting mixtures of yin and yang qi. He merely creates a field of yin energy in which, he says, if there's a spirit, it can manifest itself.
That's where I kind of wonder where they're kind of hitting some boundaries. I think it was Founded Earth Brothers who talked about like how you might open yourself up for like demon possession, literally kind of stuff like that when it comes to like chakra alignments and stuff like that. Like you're kind of opening yourself. What are you opening yourself up to is the thing. And that was the Hindu thing. The Hindus believe that you're actually taking like different like false gods or whatever, and kind of like letting them possess your bodies or stuff like that, which is kind of a whole other boundary that I don't want to mess with.
Well, yeah, I could see a reason why, certain knowledge is occulted, because if you don't use it wisely, you can hurt yourself. It's like giving a child a machete or a box of matches and a bunch of gasoline and letting them go outside and play. You're just asking for trouble.
We don't really see a whole lot of people running around possessed, but they're there sometimes. They're very clearly there. And I've seen a couple people where I'm just like, yeah, there's something not quite right about that person.
So I invited a small group of scientists back from the United States with measuring equipment to test if DJ was for real. And if so, where might this energy belong on the electromagnetic spectrum? Catherine Cook, CEO of the Mind Science Foundation in Texas. Dr. Roger Nilsson, a Swedish medic and international racing sailor. Dr. Greg Simpson, a physicist from New York's Albert Einstein University. And Andreas Polak, one of DJ's Australian students. The visitors are confident they'll uncover him as a fraud in no time. Greg is the first guinea pig, and he's uncomfortable about showing that he can feel anything at all. Dr. Roger doesn't know what to expect. Out comes the metal detector, like the things they use in airports, to see if he has any concealed metal in his body. Then the voltmeter, to try and measure the chi. But how to get it to work? Where's the ground? What settings? DJ suggests that as his negative is his perineum and his positive is his navel chakra, perhaps that's where the electrode should be attached. He doesn't stand on his dignity. He's eager to help, but still no readings. They're getting shocks off his arm, and now they're on the right settings, but the needle still isn't moving. DJ says it isn't electricity, it's chi.
It's 1, 2, up. I feel it in my whole body. I feel it at 3, 0.3. I feel it in my legs. Shit.
But suspecting there's some tricky setup on his premises they can't find, they insist we all go to a randomly chosen hotel room several miles away to see if he can light a light bulb with his fingers. It doesn't ground on the wall. So Greg holds and grounds one wire, while DJ pumps chi through the other. The bulbs are LEDs, light-emitting diodes, which ignite in different colors according to the intensity of current.
Yes. On, off, on.
Brilliant.
Oh, you're blinking.
Things were going well. DJ was enjoying it too, until he invited us all out to lunch at his local, where he tried to push a chopstick through the table. He couldn't get it through the Formica surface, so he came up through an inch of wood from underneath.
Yes.
Not only did he draw his own blood, but a chopstick splinter had caught Alison here between the eyes, drawing more.
Ouch.
The incident was laughed off apologetically, but next morning he was a different man, drawn and upset. He said he'd been visited all night by his long-dead master, raging that he'd broken the strict taboos of his sect, never to show off in public and never to cause harm or draw blood. He felt deeply chastised. All further testing and filming must end. Never again would he submit to public scrutiny, nor accept any new students. He would sink from sight and continue his healing in obscurity, as he had done since before we met him in the early 80s, and had always told us was right.
I've found that there's like a really important aspect there when it comes to like religion, for example, is letting the creator build you up. And that's where you're getting your power. At least I should hope you're getting your powers from the creator. I'm thinking about Saul and David, right? About how Saul, he was given this power as the anointed king and was able to go out to a war. And then all of a sudden, the moment he lost that power, he can no longer fight anymore. Now he's afraid of death, and because he doesn't have that with him anymore. And so, and all of a sudden David does, and then you have the whole David and Goliath story. And so it's all about kind of giving honor to the creator rather than taking it upon yourself. Oh, this is all me. Look at what I can do. You know what I mean? And so there's this kind of a aspect that they're talking about here when it comes to kind of the privacy. Am I lifting myself up? Am I making this all about me and what I can do? Or am I taking no credit? You know what I mean? And that's kind of the whole thing. It's not about me. I'm not taking credit at all. And that's something that I think of a lot about lately too, is like, I want the creator to lift me up, not myself. And that's interesting. We all have to find our own way to go about that journey and kind of where we draw the line. When it comes to like creating YouTube content, it's really easy to be swayed by the public. I'm all doing this for the clicks and the subscribers and the views. But I loved what you said the other day, Karen, about how you're not doing this for all that. You're totally content with this small group of people that we continually talk to, and we can be happy there. And I think that's one aspect that is pretty a good outlook to have. Is just I'm happy with what's been given to me.
For sure.
This is cool.
Yeah, this is one of those things I have to be there to see something like this.
Yeah, it could. Yeah, because like Big Pine says, he's just matching. His hands could just be matching the motions of the object. If you can feel the wind blowing, I don't know. I can't really. There's no leaves on the trees, so I can't
So like
really.
a whirlwind, the wind just can't make up its mind as to which direction to go in, though, because this is kind of going all
That
over.
happens
the place,
at my house.
Oh, yeah?
Ask Ted. You can every time you move, the smoke follows you.
Oh yeah, I can see what you're talking about.
Yeah, I have to question it. Now, like I said though, I've never really tried doing anything like this. I have cloud bursted. I actually have a video on YouTube where I did it. It took me 7 minutes to do it on YouTube. Usually it only take me like 2 or 3. But I'm pretty sure I still have that one on my channel. I saw that movie, The Men Who Stare at Goats.
Oh yeah.
And it was probably like a year after I had seen it. I was out in the country driving over to my mom's house. And there was, it was one of those small cloud days with just clouds all over the sky. And they had just taken the corn down. So out in those cornfields, you could see for miles. I was doing like 20 miles an hour, just sitting there staring at the cloud, check on the road occasionally. And sure enough, the cloud like disappeared. Then I showed a couple people at work and it worked again, but they kind of freaked out. They were, they looked at me different after that. So I didn't, yeah, there's the cloud right there.
Exactly. Explain what you're doing for this cloud burst that you're talking about. Because
yeah,
when I think of like cloud bursting, I'm thinking of like shooting off a bottle rocket or something like that to try to burst a cloud through some kind of mechanic involved. And so is this more of like a mental, ethereal kind of a thing?
Yeah, I would imagine myself as the wind and going up and blowing through the cloud and just dissipating it and making it, evaporate. I'd even tell them where I was going to start. Like I'll start on this part of the cloud over here and I'll start breaking that up. Then I'll move over because it was real hard to do it all at once. You had to like do, well, at least for me. And I only maybe have done it, 5, 6, 7 times maybe. It wasn't something that once I could do it, I just started doing it all the time, every day. I don't know. I kind of felt like
the more you do it, the better you get at it.
I know, but there's certain things I don't think you should mess with. Just because you
I hear you.
Doesn't mean you should.
Yeah.
Like the last time I did it, I said I saw a picture of this long line of clouds, right? And they were all big and rolled over. And we had a big storm that was moving in. So I tried to make that wall, and I did it on my first break, on my lunch break, on my third, like I did it all day, every break. I went out there and just focused on this and tried to, and by the end of the day, there was that wall, a line of clouds like they had been stopped.
Wow.
And I was like, wow, what else can I do? But the next day there was tornadoes about 50 miles away.
Wow.
And nobody died in the tornadoes, thank God. But
did I do that?
Yeah, did I do that? So that's when I quit. And I was like, just because we have the ability to do certain things doesn't mean we really should always just do them. You know, with great power comes great responsibility. Now, I'm not saying I caused those clouds. It's really weird that it happened. But yeah, you can see the bottom right is starting to dissipate. We'll speed this up. But yeah, that's where I started, was in that bottom right. And we can even go faster than that. I think it'll go up to, yeah, 2.
People have a lot of potential, like more potential than the mainstream would give us credit for. I always think back to Jesus's words in saying that what ye have seen me do, you can also do. I was like, I think some of the most potent words he could have ever said. What you have seen me do, you can also do.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it'll start going away down here. Like if I was doing it right now, I'd probably start focusing like right through here where it's getting skinny. Fast forward a little bit. You can see it's getting skinnier and skinnier, thinner and thinner. And yeah, this one took me like 8 minutes. But it was weird holding the camera and trying to keep the camera on it and focus on that at the same time.
Oh yeah, yeah, I hear you.
But yeah, and there's other clouds in the sky around it, you know. But yeah, there it goes.
Don't dissipate, but it's just that one.
A little bit less, a little bit less, and then the gardens. I miss these gardens. I think I just showed the peas or the green beans there. Yeah. But yeah, we have some amazing powers, in my opinion. And if there are, you know, the powers that be do know about all that kind of stuff, of course they're not going to tell us. Why would they? So yeah, but like I said, trying this stuff, I was thinking about it, trying to maybe start meditating. I have a beautiful spot out back. I could go sit out on rocks with nothing but the sound of water running. And maybe getting into something like that, deep breathing and meditate. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, my big thing is going back to my mountain and just communing and kind of giving it to him and just let's talk. Just having those deep conversations. Yeah, just this morning was really powerful for me. I went and I started my journey, and this is like my second time going. My first time was a while back, and I was like looking for a big sign, just kind of a communication thing, just, you know, and I got to the top of this mountain and I took pictures of because I went fasting. I was fasting for over 24 hours and got to the top of this mountain, just praying the whole way as I'm journeying up to the top. And I get to this point where I kind of looking around, I said, okay, if I were to look for any kind of sign whatsoever, I'll accept a dead rattlesnake, just a dead rattlesnake, something like that. And I get to the top of this mountain and I didn't find a dead rattlesnake, but instead it was a circle of stones. And I've been up here many times throughout my life, but I'd never seen this before ever. This big circle of stones that looks like a coiled snake. And it's like huge. I don't know if you've ever heard of the labyrinths before. It's like a meditation circle, and you kind of go through it. And the objective of a labyrinth isn't to get lost, but it's kind of it's like a mental journey of like discovery. And so you just kind of walk through this whole thing. And at the very beginning of this circle, there was a large rock, like a big black lava rock. And so I picked this rock up, and I just felt prompted saying, carry that rock to the center of the circle. And so I did that. I ended up lifting this great big rock up and kind of walking through the path to the center of the circle. And as I'm doing this, I get this big prompting just saying, this rock represents your sins. Okay. And then I at the end of the circle, like right in the very center, I end up dropping the rock and just throw it down on the center of it. And which was like the head of the snake. And yeah, now after that, it was like this big, huge moment of clarity saying, now this is the rock of your redeemer, crushing the head of the serpent. I was like, whoa, whoa, this was very powerful for me. And so I kind of left that behind there, and was left behind with this huge moment of clarity of just being able, the law of sacrifices, being able to lift up those big heavy rocks and take them, give them to him. I mean, I don't want to like, want to leave my sins behind and give them to him and move forward and be a better person. And so it's kind of this huge lesson on just kind of the law of sacrifice, of just kind of giving those things up. And so today, this morning, I went back and I started my journey, and this time it was different. I found a rock at the very beginning of the journey that was white, and it's surrounded by the entire mountain's covered in black lava rocks. And so I found this big white rock at the very, very bottom of the mountain. And this time I'm not taking the rock that was already up on the top, but I started taking that rock from the bottom of the mountain to the top. And I've got to go take it to that circle. And I get to the top of the mountain and there's still a journey left. And before I could finish it, like I was utterly exhausted. I'm like ready to pass out because carrying this big heavy rock out to the top of the mountain, it was a lot. And but that's kind of a meditation unto itself, saying this is how committed I am. This is a sacrifice I'm willing to do to show that I'm sincere about getting to know the Creator better. And so as I'm carrying this big rock up to the top of the mountain, I get to the top, and then after that, I just feel this prompting of like, okay, that's enough for today. Okay. I want you to go back, and I want you to get your son, and I want you to bring your son here and teach him this concept of the law of sacrifice, about the more effort that you put into it, of showing that desire, whether it be through fasting or whatever, show them that and come pray with me and bring him here. So that's my next goal, is to go take him there. And it was just, as you can see, yeah, it was very powerful for me. And it's something I'll never forget. That's something I really just want to share with everyone on that. It's just these meditation journeys, and like exactly what can come from them. There's a lot of people who have been given a lot of strength in many different forms and ways throughout the past. And yeah, if it means coming close to the becoming a better person, that's what it's all about.
That's what it's all about. That's right. Well, all right, that's going to do it for today's show, folks. Karen, what you got coming up this week? I know we'll have Coffee Talk on Monday. Would you like to join us this Sunday for the GLOBEBUSTER show? Awesome sauce.
Definitely.
We're going to be covering 6 of Jaren's 6 globe proofs, I guess. Yeah, in quotations, exactly. And then Coffee Talk on Monday.
Yep, Coffee Talk on Monday.
I'm missing scripture study, I'm just saying.
I know. I gotta see what's up with Jack. He's been quiet lately.
It's springtime.
We were supposed to go do a lumber party at his house, but then it rained and then it got
I
canceled.
know.
So.
Well,
that stunk.
Yeah. Your conversations have always been very inspirational for me. Just listening to them. I love the the Hebrew aspect of it, just kind of really diving deep into what does the Hebrew actually say, because there's so much like the King James Bible just does
It's
that
totally
job.
different. It's
Yeah,
totally
totally
different.
different. And so
Yeah.
that's what I love about it. It's kind of pulling out the magnifying glass and what is it really saying here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you guys do a great job. Very inspirational, like I said.
Thank you. So that's
All
it.
right.
Yeah, I don't really have much else going on. I still have a couple of puppies I need to find homes for, and they're getting older and they need training. So it's like now I'm like trying to train them sit and some stuff, so they're
Yeah.
not just like this wild puppy, you know.
I saw what
So
Ted did to the pin. Ted really made the pin so much nicer and
yeah, he doubled the
so
size of
much
the
work.
pen, and we made a new cover for them, and like it's nice. So now at least the pen's big enough that I can go in there with the puppies and work with them, and they have like lots of room to run around. So
Yeah, it's quite the dog. I mean, it's nice. It's so nice. I had inspiration today. We have, I don't know, Karen, if you remember, in our, we have the dam in our backyard, and we had a great blue heron that hung out for like at the dam a lot, and I quit seeing it after Bob died. It didn't come back. It came back today.
Oh, cool.
And
huh.
I mean, it's a majestic, it's an over like 5 foot tall bird on the dam and fascinating to watch. Yeah, I watched it for how long
I don't know
today?
about 5 feet. I'd say 3 foot.
They
But
say
it's
they're
a big
like,
bird.
it's a big
Yeah.
bird.
It is a big bird. Actually, Ted and I were in the yard, I think maybe like a week or two ago, and a heron flew into the yard, and it flew really low right above us, and it landed in the tree line, and then it just walked into the tree line, and I was like, that was weird. But it was cool.
Those are my favorite right there. I love those.
They look like the cranes. I had to look at the difference to find out what I was looking at, but this one does go underwater, is more aquatic, and does like bend its head more where the cranes keep them, straight. And in this area is known for 'em. So I had to look them up. All of the stuff here I'm looking up and is fascinated with.
Mm-hmm.
We also have a resident turtle that we haven't seen, but we did when going down to the beach down around the bend. See the turtle down there and talk to the owner, and the turtle had been hanging out, at the nether part of the river. So I'm hoping that the big turtle comes back.
I'm sure you will.
And
Yeah,
we've
I've
been
got pictures
doing,
and video of it. It was huge. Like its head had to be like at least that round. It was an old snapping turtle.
and another rabbit hole I'm going into is I've been researching the dam in my backyard, going deep down the rabbit hole and the old maps and the old topography and the different things on it. My best guess, there's two of them I'm leaning, but the style of the way it's built in that, and there's not a lot of the ones like it. It's more miraculous than I know. The building style in that points to the mid 1700s, and the other option is in the 1850s. There was I don't know if we'd have a size wheel on it. On the Shelby, there was something with their wheel, but I think it was up towards Billings. There's two different areas. We did all the different places. There was a known mill there, a gin cotton mill that had a wheel on it, and it's by Tech and Company, and the company's no longer there. There's nothing about it. I mean, we've been really looking hard for it. So the remember we had people here that were old that were saying it was old when they were children, and it's not on any of the maps, not on any of the things. So looking at it circa between the 1700s and the 1800s at the very latest in history and possibly earlier, but the stone and log building in that was what they were calling the style done in the 1700s, and maybe again mudded over in that. But it's remarkable. It's really fascinating going into the old history and the different mills and the different sites on it. And again, in this area, it's quite historical for being in the States, um,
Yeah, we need
compared
to
to
take
like
the metal
Colorado and
detector up on the other side.
yes, we do. We need to actually dig it. I think I'd like to go to the other side, across from the dam, and I'd like to actually shovel and dig a pit, metal detector, and actually dig a pit and do things because there's going to be things going down. Again, we're going to need to go down several feet, I think. But it's remarkable. I mean, that's also it's been this big rabbit hole of trying to look for this. I mean, how far across do you think the dam is?
Probably 80 feet at least.
And how tall?
6 feet.
I mean,
It's as tall as I am. It's actually a
right,
little
and
bit
then it's
taller, so it's
taller
probably
where
like
it gets higher.
6'5", 6'8", somewhere around there.
So this is not a little bitty.
No, it's a big thing.
It's a big thing, and so to have it, and again, when we bought the house, you couldn't even see there were so many
Trees and stuff like that
trees and
in the
everything
way.
in the backyard, like covering the hill. I was like, "Is there water there?" And she was like, "Yeah, is that a river I hear?" And she was like, "Yeah, it's down the hill, and then there's a dam there." So the reason you see it from the house is we cleared. When I say we, I mean Zach. I may have raked or pulled a little weed or two, but yeah, all of that stuff was cleared to have the view of the river and the dam, but it's right there. It's like crazy. I mean, talk about it's amazing. It's really, really special. I think I'm meant to be here and like figure out some of the history on it. So like for the reasons for things. But sorry about that tangent. I just went off on it. But thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We really enjoy it. And Sunday should be a really, really good show. Special
Yeah, come hang
anniversary
out
shows.
Sunday. Alrighty, folks. That'll be it for the GLOBEBUSTERS Tech Ether Part 2. I know this wasn't super technical. This was more kind of,
Friendly.
yeah,
That's
dabbling
okay.
on the idea of, is this the ether that they're manipulating here?
Share your experiences in the comments if you
Yeah.
got personal on-hand experience with this kind of stuff, because that's stuff we want to know about.
And you never know until you try. And I mean, there's still people out there that tell me ball lightning is not real, that it's just made up and this and that. And I've seen it when I was young. I saw ball lightning. So, people can tell me things aren't real all they want, but when you see something and then, it's different. Yeah, but try things. I never thought I could burst a cloud until I tried. I'm sure all of you can do it too. I'm just saying. Give it a shot.
I'm going to try bending a laser, so we'll see if I can do that.
But that'll be it, folks.
Hold on,
Go
one
ahead.
thing before I do it, just because it's so cool. Somebody went on a tangent in the chat saying that Austin, what's its name literally? What does it mean? Or what was it? It was really good. Austin, what's its name literally means southern sun from magnificent white slopes. Look it up. Ost means southern. Ost refers to the sun's path. Magnificent, what it means from white slopes. So that's cool. Who else has got cool names here? Zachary Zabala. What does your last name mean?
From a flat plane.
My maiden name meant ruler, which was really cool. I was born a ruler, but it was Polish ruler, and it was not talking about a king or an emperor or
A
anything like that.
measurer.
It was one who measures, one who goes out with their tools and measures. And I don't think I could have been born to a better last name, so I like it. I have all kinds of millimeter gauges, micrometers, you name it. I have a lot of that, so I love that. But yeah, I love taking the names down. Sorry, it's only I had to end on that because that was so very cool.
I really tried to do that with my kids, is give them meaningful names, like Melody Celestia Adams, which is heavenly melody. And so yeah, each of my kids has a unique name like that where it ends up meaning something.
Well, all right, folks. Thank you again so much for hanging out. Remember, be good to each other. Don't lie to each other. Open your mind because there's truth inside. Peace out, everyone.
Peace. Love ya.
Peace.